ॐ वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। ॐ श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ श्रीमेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्धदामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्ख्यपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तन्न विदुः सुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। Om. Namaste once again, everyone.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste.
Namaste, Guruji. Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste.
Namaskara, Guruji.
Namaskara. Yuktahara viharasya yuktacheshtasya karmasu yuktaswapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkhaha. So we completed a brief discussion on Ashtanga Yoga in the last class. The most important stage from a Vedantic perspective is the Samadhi stage. And as I explained, Samadhi means natural absorption in the object of meditation, where the distractions which were experienced in the dhyana stage have ended. Because as I said, the dhyana stage is a stage where you start meditating on a particular object, which is basically a akara vritti, a thought. But what is supposed to be there is sajatiya pratyaya pravaha, but that is disturbed by a vijatiya pratyaya pravaha. So the mind keeps on switching to other dissimilar thoughts. So we have to bring the mind back to the thought of the object of meditation. This process goes on for some time in the dhyanam stage. It's not that you sit and close your eyes and then meditation will start. It's a difficult process. So after some time, the mind says, okay, I will not now wander around. I will stick to the object of meditation. My thoughts will relate only to the object of meditation. And then once that is achieved, what you reach is the samadhi stage, where the mind is fixed on the thought, singular thought of object of meditation, occurring again and again and again, no, without getting distracted. And from Yoga Shastra point of view, as I explained, samadhi is the continuous flow of thought about Saguna Ishvara. And suppose a person has studied Vedanta and he has gone beyond Saguna Ishvara. He has gone beyond the formed God, a personal God. He has understood what is meant by the Mahavakya Aham Brahmasmi. Then for him, the object of meditation is not a personal God, but the object of meditation is Nirgunam Brahma. It is Aham Brahma Asmi. That is the object of meditation, which is we call in the Vedantic parlance Nididhyasanam. There also the thought is required, mind is required, thought flow is required. But the thought is of the nature of this self. Aham Brahmasmi. And if you want, as I said, similar thoughts you can bring in. It could be Aham Shuddhosmi, Aham Muktosmi, Aham Anantosmi. So, Nitya Shuddha Buddha, all that thoughts relating to the Atma Swarupam, all connected to the Atma Swarupam, can be the thought in the meditation in Nididhyasana. But suppose that thought suddenly comes, Aham husband asmi, Aham son asmi, Aham wife asmi, that will become Vijatiya, not Sajatiya. Sajatiya is Brahmasmi, Shuddhosmi, Muktosmi, etc. Similar kind of thoughts relating to the Atma Swarupam. But if it goes to Anatma Swarupam, Aham so and so asmi, Aham Purusha asmi, Aham Stri asmi, all that will become Vijatiya. That should be avoided. You should never become a husband or wife or father, etc. in meditation. Once you are out of meditation, you can be back to your roles. But during meditation, your total identification is with your Atma Swarupam. Nothing else is allowed. Aham Shuddha Chaitanyam Asmi, Aham Chidananda Rupam Asmi, Shivoham Asmi. These are all Vedantic meditation. So in the yogic meditation, the first type, God is outside as an object. Krishna, Rama, Vishnu, Shiva, meditate, God is outside. Duality is still there. I and the God, I am meditating on a God. That is the yogic meditation, the first type of meditation. In the second type of meditation, in Vedantic meditation, God is non-different from me. Jiva Ishwara Naparaha. So even though the object of meditation differs, the method remains the same. And that is why Krishna has chosen to explain that method in this chapter. The flow of thought related to the object of meditation is the same. So when we reach the Nididhyasanam stage, it becomes important that a person gets trained in Ashtanga Yoga. at least the principles of Ashtanga Yoga, like, asana, pranayama, starting from yama niyama, of course, very important for any spirit. Whether you do Vedanta or not, yama and niyama are important for anybody. Because it is not only that I do things for myself, I have a responsibility towards the society. I have a responsibility towards the other members of the society. There is a moral code of conduct which I have to follow if I have to live peacefully in the society and also let others live peacefully. And Yama and Niyama, as I said, are the 10 commandments of Hindu religion, which prescribes this moral code. So now, with Ashtanga Yoga, coming to Samadhi, then going to Nirvikalpa Samadhi, Nirgunam Brahma meditation is the culmination of this entire process. Now I will touch upon a few more points about Dhyanam, meditation. See, the object of meditation, this is generally I am talking about. The object of meditation will vary according to the level of the student also. Before the Vedanta Shravana, before the study of Vedanta, object of meditation can be any Ishta Devata. And also in Yoga Shastra, they talk about various chakras also, the 8 chakras in the body. One can meditate on those chakras also. Mooladhara. In fact, Lalita Sahasranamam, there is a sloka. Mooladharam bhujarudha panchavakrati samstita agnya chakrabja nilaya shukla varna shadhanana. So you can meditate on each of the chakra. Mooladhara is one chakra. So that also can be an object of meditation. Chakra means, for those who don't know, chakra means a wheel-like thing. So the Devi Swarupam is visualized in a diagram, which is called Sri Chakra. And you have to imagine the deity in the chakra, and upon the deity, we have to focus the mind. It is not necessary. Those Devi Upasakas will meditate on Devi Swarupa. But it's not compulsory. It can be any external deity also. It can be a photo, a picture, a flame of light. But one condition is there, and which is there in Yogic Shastra also, that the object of meditation should be related to God. Because, there is this, when we talk of meditation, some people think that you can meditate on any object, and it is not necessary that it should relate to God. It's all modern thinking, People will come up, they will use the old methods, apply it to new areas. There is no question of atheistic meditation. Meditation means theistic only. If I do not have relation to God, it will not be called dhyanam. It will be only called an exercise in concentration. You can practice that. There is no harm. But don't call it dhyanam, that gives it the yogic terminology. Don't call that I am doing dhyanam, and all that you are doing dhyanam is on anything you can imagine other than something related to God. That can be practiced. In fact, I can take a white paper, put a dot in the front of or in the middle, then I can start meditating on that dot. That will be an exercise in concentration, but we cannot call it dhyana. To name it dhyanam, the prerequisite is it should be associated with God. That is why when we talked of the niyama, the last one is Ishvara Pranidhanam. Surrender to God is a prerequisite for coming to yogic meditation also. What to talk of Vedantic meditation. And that is why Dhyanam is defined as Saguna Brahma Vishaya Manasa Vyaparaha, a mental activity associated with Sagunam Brahma, God with attributes. Because if any mental activity can become meditation, then we don't need to look anywhere. All our worries itself can become objects of meditation. Constant flow of that worry is there, isn't it? Worrying about yesterday, worrying about today, worrying about tomorrow. Therefore, it should be a mental activity, and that mental activity should be associated with God. And here in the 6th chapter, the only difference is Krishna is not talking about meditation on personal God. Krishna is talking about Atma Dhyanam here. Meditation on my own nature. Of course, this we can apply to the personal God also. But here the theme, the object of meditation is not Krishna or Rama or anyone. Krishna will later say, Atma samstam manakritva na kinchidapi chintayet. Which means I entertain only those thoughts which reveal my nature, Atma samstam. Established in my own nature. Self-revealing thoughts. And as I said earlier also in one of the classes, we have got several mantras, several meditation mantras in our tradition. I don't want to go into them now, but some of them I have already mentioned in the previous classes. So these points about meditation and all, you must note and remember. And with this background, we will enter the 18th shloka. Okay. Yada viniyatam chittam atmanyevavatishtate nisprihas sarva kamebhyah yukta ityuchyate tada. So the Anvaya is Yada viniyatam chittam atmani eva avatishtate tada sarvakamebhyah nisprihah yuktah iti uchyate. Yada, when, viniyatam chittam, the mind which has gained a certain composure, atmani eva, in the self alone, avatishtate, remains, tada, then, sarvakamebhyah, from all the objects of desire, nisprihah, one who is free of longing, yuktah iti, as one who is accomplished, uchyate, the person is said to be. So when the mind has gained a certain composure and remains in the self alone, when one is free of longing from objects of desire, then that person is said to be one who is yuktah or accomplished. This word viniyatam is defined by Adi Shankara in his Bhashyam as ekagrata, meaning that the mind, the chittam, has the capacity to remain single-pointedly on the object of contemplation alone without getting distracted. That is the stage where we enter samadhi. In such a mind, both the object of contemplation and the meditator, the contemplator, become one and the same. There being no separation whatsoever between the two. Once that stage is reached in meditation, Advaitam gets established. The mind has gained a certain mastery, certain contemplative disposition, a composure by itself in itself through the disciplines that have already been mentioned as qualifications for such a mind, for gaining such a mind. And this mind abides in Atma alone. That's why he says, Tasmin Atmani eva avatishtate, which means there is no separation between the mind and Atma. Thus, for the person discussed here, there is no Atma to be contemplated upon as an object, because both contemplator and the contemplated are Atma alone. Contemplator is also Atma. Contemplated is also Atma. Both the subject and object are one Atma. Prior to this, there was as though contemplation, whereas now there is no necessity for as though contemplation because the self remains in the self alone. Atmani eva avatishtate. So the mind is first withdrawn from external objects, and that means the thought connected with that object or those objects is no longer entertained. What do we mean by thought in an object? See, whenever we say your mind is in the office, it only means office akara vritti. The thought modification relevant to the office is entertained. And when we say withdraw the mind from office, I mean do not entertain the office vritti. So in Atma Dhyanam, my mind has to withdraw from all anatma, which means every thought connected with the anatma, every thought connected with the objective universe, including my body, mind, sense complex, I removed all those thoughts from my mind. So the thought of home, thought of wife, thought of money, thought of this, thought of that, etc. Anything connected with anatma is withdrawn. And as we have seen, anatma consists of three things. The whole anatma can be categorized as three. Whole world is anatma. The body is anatma. Mind is anatma. Which means you should never entertain any thought connected with the world, connected with the body, connected with the mind. You should not think of these three. If you remove these three anatma akara vrittis, it is called chittam viniyatam. Viniyatam means restrained, withdrawn, pulled back. Composed. Chittam viniyatam. Therefore, he says, Sarva kamebhyah nisprihaha. Only by developing detachment from anatma can we reach that stage. Because our thoughts always are directed towards the object of attachment. So detachment has to be developed. Vairagyam has to be developed. And we have experienced that, if we are attached to a particular person or a particular object the most, then that person or the object hovers in our mind all the time. If it is sun attachment, sun akara vritti will keep on repeating. So what happens when we have got strong attachments, we have raga dvesha, our thoughts are governed by our raga dveshas. That is why he says sarvakamebhyah nisprihaha, having detached from every object. Here kamaha means object of attachment. And that is why meditation requires detachment. Sitting for meditation with attachment will only be sitting with eyes closed. Everything else except meditation will take place. Meditation as we have defined. Because in the scriptures, the word kama has two meanings. The desire itself is kama. Object of desire is also described as kama. So the thought process wherein you want to gain an object is called kama, and that which you desire is also called kama. In the Gita, this word kama is used throughout in this twofold sense. And therefore, we have to see the context in which it is used to understand the meaning. Here, Krishna uses the word kama in the meaning of object of desire. And what are these objects of desire? Very broadly, we can classify them as drishta and adrishta, seen and unseen. Drishta is wherever you accomplish now, whatever you accomplish now, and it is seen by you. Whereas adrishta is something that is not seen by you, like punya. Punya is desirable to you because it brings you something desirable later. Some happy experiences you get. And in this way, punya is like currency. You can enjoy it in and of itself. It has a buying power. It can buy objects that you can enjoy. Therefore, punya is an intermediary goal achieving which you are qualifying yourself, empowering yourself to accomplish various ends such as comfortable situation, wealth, power, etc. So, because these ends are not seen now, they are called unseen, adrishta. Therefore, kama can be either for drishta, seen objects, or adrishta, that is that which is the result of punya. Punya itself being adrishta. Suppose a person performs a particular fire ritual for the purpose of gaining something here in this world. The ritual itself does not produce the object. Since what he wants out of the ritual is not the fire, rather by performing the ritual, he gains a certain grace of punya, which removes all the obstacles to his effort to gain what he wants. For example, a person is, we have seen the stories of Dasharatha Maharaja performing Putra Kameshti Yaga. That is not for the purpose of performing the yagam. Yagam is the methodology through which the desire for a putra is accomplished. So, through the yagam, you gain a certain punya, grace, which helps you in gaining eventually a putra. So, human beings have got this desire both for drishta and adrishta. And the person discussed here, the yukta, is free from longing for all objects of desire, both drishta and adrishta. He has no desire for punyam also. And that is why Krishna uses sarvakamebhya. Sarvakamebhya nispravaha. The word sarva includes both drishta and adrishta, meaning the longing for all objects, known and unknown, visible and invisible, drishta and adrishta. Nispriha has gone away. Because when the mind is preoccupied with the objective world, how can that mind be available for Atma Dhyanam? Therefore, he says, withdraw the mind from the world and do what? Atmani eva avatishtate. The mind abides in Atma. The mind dwells in Atma. And how does this mind abide in Sachidananda Atma? Is it like two objects, one sitting on the other? Then you say, there is a mind, there is the Atma thought, it is sitting on that, so it is dwelling on the mind. That is not what is meant here. Here, dwelling means abiding in Atma, purely in the form of knowledge, clarity, doubtless knowledge, Aham Brahmasmi. In other words, the meaning of the word I is no more a matter of conjecture or mistaken notions for the person. I is no longer identified with the body, mind, sense complex. It is not something that one has to contemplate upon in order to understand it further. That process is already over in Shravanam and Mananam. And it has come to the firm conclusion what the meaning of that word I. When I say aham, what do I mean? Very firm knowledge. So this capacity of the mind to remain in Atma is the meaning of the expression Atmani eva avatishtate. The mind abides in the Atma. The mind dwells in the Atma. Dwells in Atma means absorbed in the thought of my real nature. So you should not take mind dwelling in Atma in the physical sense. Because Atma is not an object on which the mind can dwell upon for meditation. It is never possible because Atma being all pervading consciousness, mind is never away from Atma. There is no question of mind coming to Atma because the entire creation is resting in Atma alone. And Atma is defined like space, space like all pervading consciousness. So the mind is never ever away from Atma. In fact, Atma is actually pervading the mind also. Consciousness is pervading the mind also. And that is why mind performs. All this thought process which happens in the mind is because of the consciousness only. If that be the case, if the mind cannot go out of Atma, what do you mean by mind abiding in Atma? We should remember that whenever we talk about the mind dwelling on something, it only means you have a thought corresponding to that object. If my mind dwells upon America, it means I have got the thoughts of America. If my mind dwells upon, let's say, Kailasa, then I have thoughts relating to Kailasa Parvat. Therefore, if the mind has to abide in Atma, the mind should entertain the thought modification. Which thought is associated with Atma? So Atmanishta Nama Atmakara Vritti Eva. That is why, as I said in the last class also, even though Yoga Shastra defines meditation as, or yoga itself as Chitta Vritti Nirodha, we repeatedly say that Vedantic meditation is not thoughtlessness. Yogic meditation is thoughtlessness. Yoga philosophy talks about culmination of meditation as a thoughtless state, whereas in Vedanta we do not accept or approve of that. It is not that the thoughtless state is not possible, but it is of no use for a Vedanta. Once you have a thoughtless state, maybe the mind gets relaxation. Whether your mind gets relaxation or not, when you are thoughtless, other people around you will be relaxed. Therefore, we do not give much importance to thoughtlessness. We give importance to the thought centered on Atma Swarupam. And what are they? I am consciousness principle by which the whole world is known, by which the body is known, by which the mind is known, and by which even this thought is known. Not only the thought is known, even the thoughtless state is also known by this consciousness, this awareness alone. And this awareness or consciousness, which is the witness of the thoughtful mind, as well as the thoughtless mind, I am. But this itself is a form of thought. So I am the witness of thoughtful and thoughtless mind. So this is one form of thought I entertain. And like that, several thoughts are possible. As I said, aham shuddhosmi, aham muktosmi, etc. These thoughts arise in consciousness, but they cannot disturb the consciousness. Swami Paramarthananda gives a very nice example, which we have seen earlier also. It is like my hand moving in the light. By my hand moving, the light is not disturbed by the hand. The light illumines the hand, but the light is not disturbed. Similarly, I, the consciousness, illumine the thought, witness the thought, but the thought themselves do not disturb me. That is because asangatvam. So aham asangaha is one form of thought. Aham sakshi can be another form of thought. These thoughts can arrive and depart, but I never arrive and depart because I am consciousness, all pervading, ever present. Even now, what all I am talking and you have been listening. And as even you listen, your mind should have entertained a relevant thought. And all these thoughts are dealing with Atma. This is called Akhanda Akara Vritti. Akhanda Akara Vritti means any thought pattern connected with the consciousness, the Sakshi. And entertaining this thought pattern is what Krishna calls as Atmani Avasthanam. Dwelling on the Atma, abiding in Atma. Not a thoughtless state, but a thought pattern, similar thoughts. So aham eka hai, aham asanga hai, aham rupa rahita hai, formless. I illumine the formed body, but I myself am formless. Like the light illumines the whole world, it illumines the formed hand, but light itself is formless. All these thoughts, aham arupa hai, aham sakshi, aham asanga hai, aham nitya hai, aham shuddha hai, aham buddha hai, all these are called atma dhyanam. These can be the various thoughts succeeding each other in atma dhyanam. And therefore Krishna says, Atmani eva avatishtate. The mind abides in Atma, entertaining the relevant thoughts. And that state is called yuktaha iti uchyate. That stage is called yuktaha, yoga, samadhi, absorption. Any name you can give. And as I said in the last class, samadhi itself is divided into two. When effort is involved, it is called savikalpaka samadhi because the ego is dominant. There is duality where the individuality is pronounced. And once the effort is entertained for some time, and when it comes to an effortless process, it is like pedaling a cycle, the first 2-3 minutes, there is an effort involved. And then you can see every cyclist goes into nirvikalpaka samadhi. No longer pedaling is required. The momentum is gained, the cycle goes on its own. Till it slows down and again you have to pedal. So yuktaha iti uchyate. Yuktaha means what? Absorbed. And what is the state of mind in this absorption? An example Krishna gives in the next sloka. We will read the sloka. Yatha deepo nivatastah nengate sopama sprita yogino yata chittasya yunjato yogamatmanah. The Anvaya is Sa upama smrita yata chittasya yoginah yunjatah yogam atmanah yata deepah nivatastah na ingate. Sa upama. Upama means a simile, an example. The following simile, illustration. Smrita is mentioned. Yata chittasya, for the restrained mind. Yoginaha, of a yogi. Yunjataha, who is practicing. Yogam atmanaha, dhyana yoga of the atma. Yatha, it is like. Deepaha, a lamp. Nivatastaha, in a windless spot. Na ingate, which does not flicker. So, says the following illustration is mentioned for the restrained mind of a yogi who is practicing dhyana yoga of the Atma, which is like a lamp in a windless spot which does not flicker. So, what is the example here Krishna gives? He says, suppose a lamp is lighted, either a candle light or an oil lamp, but not an electric light, mind you. Electric light, this example will not work. It should be a lamp with a flame. And when the lamp is kept in the open place, the flame is there burning, but the flame flickers because of the breeze which disturbs the flame. And in which direction the flame will go or flicker will depend upon the direction of the breeze. Sometimes in one direction, sometimes in the other direction. And this flickering lamp is an unprotected lamp which is disturbed by external breeze. In meditation also, our thought is like a flame. When we are entertaining that thought, even though I think of that object of meditation, I am not able to retain that thought because within a moment, some other thought comes. In fact, sometimes we do not even realize that our thoughts have drifted away. To the extent that you don't even recall what were you meditating upon. It goes, all over the place. So the thoughts can go away with or without our knowledge. Mostly it is without our knowledge. Such a mind is constantly occupied by different thoughts succeeding each other. So the mind in meditation is active like a lighted lamp. It is not asleep, but it flickers. So instead of sajatiya pratyaya pravaha, we end up with what? Vijatiya pratyaya pravaha. And this happens. We even forget that we are actually sitting in meditation. And then suddenly something happens like a knock in the door or ringing of a phone, etc. Suddenly we remember that we are supposed to be in meditation. So this is called the flickering mind, an unsteady mind. Therefore, Krishna wants to emphasize that the mind should be held steady during meditation. In the case of flame of a lamp, which flickers due to the breeze, we can protect the flame and prevent the flickering by providing a glass enclosure, isn't it? Normally we have in our house and all that, where we have a lamp and we want to, it is summer, we have to put on the fan. We put the lamp in an enclosure so that it doesn't either flicker or gets extinguished. And when we actually use such an enclosure, glass enclosure, to protect the flame from breeze, then if you observe the flame, it becomes a steady flame like a stick. Straight it will be. Stays like that. In fact, it is very interesting to watch that flame. In fact, in the dharana stage in yoga, before you enter into dhyanam, this is the practice they advocate. Use flickering a candle lamp or something, protected from wind or breeze. Then start focusing your attention on that lamp, unflickering flame of the lamp, dharana stage. Once you have practiced dharana for quite some time and you are able to, it is open eyes, you are able to focus your mind, your eyes and behind the eyes, the mind on that flickering flame for a length of time. That's how you train your mind to focus so that you get to the dhyanam stage. So Krishna says that steady flame can be taken as an example for nirvikalpaka samadhi. The flame is corresponding to the thought, the akhandakara vritti, the atma thought. And the steadiness of the flame indicate that my atmakara vritti is not disturbed by my anatmakara vritti. Now the question is, in the case of a flame, I can provide a glass enclosure. But in the case of the mind, what enclosure will have to be provided? Mind is a very subtle instrument. And therefore, I require another type of enclosure, which is called Vairagyam and Bhakti. So for meditation, Bhakti and Vairagyam are the enclosures. And what do we mean by Bhakti and Vairagyam? Even though Krishna doesn't deal with this in this verse, he will deal with this Bhakti and Vairagyam later in this chapter. He says how to use that Vairagyam, he will say in the later in this chapter, Abhyasena tu kaunteya Vairagyena cha grihyate. Both Vairagyam and Abhyasam, that is practice, you will be able to put that enclosure on the mind. Because if you actually analyze most of our worries, and I would say even almost all worries, or because we are unable to face the future. Future is not known to us, and we are always fearful what will happen. And even then, we face two types of futures: actual future and imaginary future. In fact, actual future may not be so disturbing as the imaginary future. Imaginary future threatens us more. What will happen if I fall sick or get afflicted with some disease like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, etc.? My children are abroad, and even if they come, they will stay for maximum month or two. Who will then take care of me? Nobody knows whether I am actually going to be afflicted with these diseases. That is not known. But the imaginary fear, because see somebody else, see the plight of some other old people, then you start imagining, oh, if this happens to me, what will I do? Worry. Imaginary future. As of today, there is no indication that you are going to get Parkinson's and all that. But having said that, you don't know. So you imagine the worst and start worrying about it. So when you reach a stage in life, the imaginary fear will always be there. So this imaginary worry of future is one of the main causes of disturbance of the mind. What is the solution? Simple. Ishvara Pranidhanam. Surrender to God. I will do whatever I need to do today. I will keep myself healthy. Eat the right food, do the exercise, etc. But that there is no guarantee that these things cannot happen to me. Therefore, I will do my duty. I will surrender to God and then accept whatever comes with the prasada buddhi. And live in the firm faith that whatever happens, God will find a way to take care of myself. This should be there, and that is what will settle the worries in the mind. This Sharanagati is not a very simple concept. Sharanagati is the life's secret formula. Surrender yourself to the God. The nature knows the best. Cosmic powers know the best. They will take care of you. If you have faith in them, if you knock on their doors, if you deny their existence, then why would they care for you? So this is one type of disturbance. The second type of disturbance, as I said, is attachment. If I do not worry about myself, I will worry about my family members. What will happen to them? Suppose tomorrow I suddenly conk off. What will my wife do? What will my children do? All those worry about family members. So whenever such a thought comes, tell yourself, in fact, they will be better off without me. And I cannot assume the responsibility. If I think that I am responsible for their well-being, I am being foolish and stupid. God has created everyone. God has created me. God has created all these people. So God will take care of them. So again, the solution is surrender to God. Pray for God to take care of them. All these are, when you come to spirituality, you must be living in these kind of thoughts alone, brother. And all this, when you are externalizing all your worries, all your disturbances, all your problems, what happens? Your ego gets diluted more and more and more. You don't hold yourself responsible for anything. The whole reason why I am responsible, I do this, I do that is because of the pronounced ego. I will just drift away. So, by bhakti, vairagya, enclosure, we have to protect the mind. Therefore, Krishna says, Nivatastaha deepaha yata, like a lamp kept in a protected place, secure place, remains unflickering. Na ingate, remains without a flicker. Sa upama sprita. This flickerless flame is the illustration, is the model, is the example for yata chittasya, for the restrained mind, well directed mind, well disciplined mind. And what is that disciplined mind doing? Atmanah yogam yunjatah. That disciplined mind is practicing Atma Dhyanam. Here yogam means dhyanam. Atmah, Atmanah Dhyanam, Atma Dhyanam. Yunjatah means practicing, which is adjective to mind, chittam. So the unflickering flame is an example of the restrained mind, which mind is engaged in Atma Dhyanam, and that is called Samadhi, absorption. Yunjatah yogam atmanah. Thus, Dhyana Swarupam was talked about in these two verses. Now, in the following verses, that is 20, 21, 22, 23, 4 verses, Krishna talks about the culmination of Dhyanam, which is called, as we have seen, Nirvikalpaka Samadhi. That is going to be defined in the following slokas. 7 definitions or 7 features are going to be given for Nirvikalpaka Samadhi, which is the culmination of Ashtanga Yoga. And remember, this Nirvikalpaka Samadhi is possible in any field. There is no mystery involved in it. There is no mysticism involved in it. Because this stage of Nirvikalpaka Samadhi, the absorption, is again a natural faculty we all have. In fact, when we were children, we were babies rather, we had this in full measure. If you have observed the babies, for example, they will be lying, on their chest and looking around. Then there will be one ant or something just going slowly. And the baby will be fully concentrating on that ant. Or maybe a cockroach, anything, some moving thing. And the baby will try to reach out its hand to catch that. And during that time, you try to distract the baby in any way, it will not get distracted. Even if you show the hand in front of the baby in order to distract it, the concentration will not flicker. Na ingate. So, in children, we find this faculty more pronounced. And as we grow up, we lose that faculty. But even now, we can still experience that rarely. Or rarely, sometimes we can experience. And generally, this happens when we are our mind is clouded with lot of worries. We go into what we call worry samadhi, absorbed in worries. Our eyes will be staring at something, mind will be going on worrying, and you cannot be disturbed. You are totally in samadhi state. Even somebody calls you, your ears won't hear. Somebody does like this in front of you, eyes will not get distracted. You'll be just staring. But in the mind, nothing is registered other than the worries are going on. Sometimes we see this when you are reading a book, totally absorbed in that book. No hunger, no thirst, nothing. Full absorption in the story. You want to complete the story before you put the book down. So this is all indications of Nirvikalpaka Samadhi. More about all this we will see in the next class. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Guru Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all very much. Dhanyavadaha.
Thank you very much, Guruji. Namaskaram.
Thank you very much,
ధన్యవాదాలు
Guruji.
నమస్తే గురుజీ
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you.
థ్యాంక్ యూ గురుజీ హరి ఓం
Hari Om. Thank you.
Guruji. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you.
థ్యాంక్ యూ
So, any questions? No hands are going up. That means two things. You have understood everything or not understood anything. Of course, there is nothing not to understand in this class. It's all just plain narrative. Any doubt is there, you ask. Otherwise, we'll close the session and continue on next Saturday. Okay. Right. Thank you very much. We will continue next Saturday. No.
Thank you, Guruji.
Hari Om. Thank you. Thank you.
Hari Om.
థ్యాంక్ యూ గురుజీ హరి ఓం గురుజీ
Hari Om.